This is the Janome HD3000 heavy-duty sewing machine, and I'm going to show you just a few features that make this a really great machine in the Janome lineup. One of my favorite features is this lid that pops up here. There's storage in here for your presser feet, all your most popular presser feet. There's storage in here for your needles. Even your thread is inside of this compartment. That's really nice just because whenever you're not using the machine, if you have this closed, it keeps any dust or lint from gathering on your thread, so your machine's always ready to use. You can also have this closed while you're using the machine. That's strictly your choice. But the nice thing about this lid as well is this sewing guide. This is a really nice feature to have because this shows you each and every stitch. It shows you the recommended settings for each and every stitch, your lengths and your widths, so you don't have to fumble through the instruction book each and every time you go to do a particular stitch. Another one of my favorite features is that it does show the presser foot that you should be using with each and every stitch. So all your most needed settings and instructions are right here at a glance for you to use. Another great feature of this machine is the fact that it does have what's called SFS, which stands for Superior Feed System. The Superior Feed System consists of several things that makes it special. It does consist of a 7-piece feed dog system. This just absolutely gives you the best precision in feeding of any machine on the market. The nice thing about it is that it'll feed a single layer of silk. It'll feed 12 layers of blue jean. So from the thinnest to the thickest of material, this machine will handle it perfectly. Most machines only have a 4-piece feed dog system, which gives it kind of lackluster performance in the feeding department. Another part of the SFS, or the Superior Feed System, is that this machine does have a full rotary hook and a jam-proof bobbin system. That's another one of my favorite features is the fact that this machine is a jam-proof sewing machine. I just have a piece of scrap material here. I'm going to do just a regular zigzag stitch, and what I'm going to show is I'm just sewing off of the edge of this material, and the machine's not jamming up. I have no thread breakage, no needle breakage. It's just ejecting all the thread right out of the bobbin case. So if you were to do this on any other type of machine, you're just absolutely asking for trouble. And as you can see here, it's just ejecting all that thread right out of the bobbin case. And we're still ready to sew, even though we've gone off of the edge of the material. Another great feature of the Superior Feed System is the fact that this machine can absolutely handle thickness changes. We have here just a regular flat felt seam like you find on the bottom of a pair of blue jeans. We have thickness changes here. It goes from 3 layers to 9 layers, back down to 3. We're going to see how this machine handles those changes in thickness. So we're going to start here. I'm going to go on down to a straight stitch. We're going to start here at the 3 layers. It's going to go up to the 9, back down to the 3. And as you can see, I didn't assist it. It just goes right up and over that. And we have nice, tight, even, consistent stitching, even through the 9 layers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to double this over here, so we're going to have quite a few thickness changes. We're going to go from 3 layers, we're going to go to 6 layers, we're going to go to 12 layers, back down to the 6, and so here I'm going to start out at the 3 layers, and we're going to go from the 3 layers, it's going to go up to the 6, up to the 12, back down to the 6, and another nice feature of this machine, I'm going to start here at the 6 and go back the other way, but I want to stop here and show you that this machine does have an extra high presser foot lift, so you can fit those real thick and bulky materials right underneath that presser foot. There's enough clearance under here that I can fit my entire finger underneath that presser foot, so that's a really nice feature to have. And so now I'm going to start here at the 6 layers, and it's going to go from the 6 back up to the 12, back down to the 6, back down to the 3. And you can see it's just going right up and over that. This is just the standard needle that comes installed in the machine right out of the box. It's a standard size 14 needle, so nothing special about the needle. It went right up and over that. We have nice, tight, even, consistent stitching, even through the 12 layers. And I'm going to go straight from sewing that to sewing, I have just a piece of broadcloth type material here. I'm going to go straight from sewing that thick material to sewing just a single layer of this broadcloth. And we still have nice, tight, even stitching, no tension adjustments, no pressure adjustments, just perfect stitching. Another nice feature on this machine is the fact that it does have a built-in serging stitch. That's going to be stitch number 8 on this machine. And I'm going to turn my dial here and get this machine to stitch 8. And I'm going to, you can have your lengths and widths wherever you want, but I'm going to have it all the way on the widest width. And this material here is prone to raveling, so I want my stitch nice and close together, so I'm going to have it right around 2. What a surging stitch is going to do for you is it gives you, it encases the raw edge of fabric with thread, keeps it from raveling off like we see is happening here, and it also gives it a nice tight seam all in one passing. So I'm going to start here, and we're going to do that surging stitch. I'm going to place the material about 3/4 of the way underneath the presser foot, because whenever it goes over to the left, I want it to basically sew over the edge of the material because I want it to encase that raw edge. So we're going to start here and go ahead and serge this raw edge. And as we can see, it's encased this raw edge of fabric with thread, keeps it from raveling off, prevents that raveling, but it also gives it a nice tight seam. And that's all done in one passing. Used to have to go and do a zigzag stitch, and then you'd have to go back over it and do a straight stitch to give it a seam. The zigzag would encase the raw edge, but then you'd have to go back and do the straight stitch to give it a seam. So you had to do it in one passing. This particular stitch does it, or you used to have to do it in 2 passings. This particular stitch does it all in one passing for you. Another great feature on this machine is the fact that it does have built-in stretch stitches. Basically, I've got a piece of stretchy material here. I'm going to let this represent a stress area. Underarm, seat of pants, something that gets a lot of stress, or it could just be a stretch material. So I'm going to put this machine back on just a normal straight stitch. The machine handles the material just fine. That's really not the problem. What the problem is whenever this type of stress area or stretch material receives any stress, if it's underarm or the seat of pants, as soon as you bend over, you hear those stitches popping out. We don't want that. So we're going to take and we're going to put this on the stretch stitch, which is the last 4 stitches on this machine. We're going to do just a regular straight stretch stitch. Basically what that does is it's going to go over the stitch 3 times. So it's not only good for stretch type materials, it's also good where you need a lot of reinforcement, because it's basically like going over the stitch 3 times, but it does it all in one passing. You'll see here that it'll do 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back. It's going over that stitch 3 times, all in one passing. And what that does is it's going to add elasticity to the stitch. It's also going to be extremely durable. So if you're using this stitch in a stress area, like an underarm or seat of pants or something like that, that's going to receive a lot of stress, it's just absolutely going to hold up to that type of use. And we have here our stretch stitch, and as you can see, I'm pulling that and I don't get any popping of stitches. So that's our built-in stretch stitches. With that stretch stitch, they also have a stretch surging stitch, which is stitch number 18. That I'm going to put the width all the way up to the widest it'll go, which is 6. And again, this could be a material that gives us some raveling problems. So I'm going to do a surging stitch on this edge. Again, this is going to encase the raw edge of fabric with thread and give us that seam all in one passing. And it's still doing our 2 stitches forward, 1 stitch back. Again, not only good for stretch materials, you can use it wherever you need a lot of reinforcement, real high stress areas, something that's going to get a lot of stress to it. And here, we've encased that raw edge of fabric with thread, keeps it from raveling off, and we've also given it that nice tight seam, all in one passing. But the important thing here is that is a stretch stitch, so it's added elasticity to the stitch. I can pull this and it doesn't pop out. And that's what makes the Janome HD3000 heavy-duty sewing machine such a wise purchase.